How you guys doing today? It's EJ from the Cancel the Contract podcast. I am here with a special guest. She goes by the name of Raquel, and she's going to let you know what she do for Cancel the Contract.
Hey there. Thank you for having me.
Course,
so yes, my name is Raquel Defler, and I am the campaign coordinator for Cancel the Contract. And just briefly, we're going to have a fun conversation back and forth.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about Cancel the Contract. I think that's something that's a lot of people will want to know. You know what I mean? I feel like we're in a situation where we got the podcast to do it now, so we gonna make it happen. I think the first thing I want to ask you is, what do people think Cancel the Contract is? I feel like you'd be the perfect person
to tell.
Yeah.
So we have a fun time when we're out in community. So people feel that we are many different things. I would say the biggest word that we use most to be described would be radical. People consider us radical, maybe crazy, police haters, cop haters. So yeah, that's generally the reception we get, is that we are against law enforcement, and we just want the community just to basically just be able to be run wild, like, no cops, nothing, that type of thing. But I would say radical and cop hater is probably most often tossed at us.
So what is Cancel the Contract really?
So truly what we do is we are an organization, so we are a social justice coalition that advocates for victims of, I'm going to put it PC, unconstitutional policing, but like for real language is for like racist police violence. So we advocate when we have members of community that are harmed with interactions with, in particular, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. So we are the ones that speak when that individual, for whatever reason, cannot speak out against what is occurring to them. And for those of you that are here that live in the Antelope Valley, you know what I'm talking about when we're talking about interactions of brown and black folks with the police, with the Sheriff's Department.
Yeah, it's a real thing. And I feel like Cancel the Contract is giving an outlet for people who not necessarily don't have a voice, but don't have a voice. You know what I mean? You can come here and be able I'm happy that we're doing this podcast. I feel like this is a real good thing for the whole AV area and a lot of these like messed up situations with law enforcement, and we're the ones that's going to tackle that.
Right. Yeah. So it's exactly what you said. So many people out here, it's not, I don't think when we're dealing with adults, for many times it's not really that they don't understand their rights. Yeah. I mean, that's a given. Like, people know at least their most basic rights when it comes to interactions with law enforcement, but they don't feel empowered out here to actually assert the rights. Yeah. Because they know at a molecular level that in that interaction with the law enforcement, like, that person has the power of life and death over them. Yeah, exactly. So what happens a lot of times is it's like, I just going to get through this situation. Yeah. Let me just get through this, unharmed, alive, basically. So that's what happens, is like people, they know what's happening to them isn't right, but they don't feel in any way comfortable to say that at that moment. So we are here to be the people that call out and hold law enforcement accountable when those things do occur.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a big thing. Next question I will ask you is, why is it important to have an organization like Cancel the Contract in the Antelope Valley?
So the Antelope Valley itself has a racist past history. I mean, it still does. We used to be a sundowner town, so for folks that don't know what that means, it was like you knew that if you were brown or black, that you needed to be in your house before the sun went down, so that you did not have issues with the police. Yeah. Fast forward to the 80s, we became a minority community as opposed to majority white. Yeah. We had instances of neo-Nazis out here, KKK, those types of things. So like I said, we have obviously majority is brown and black, and white is actually the minority, but we have pockets on the west side of the Antelope Valley where it tends to be more white and higher income, like areas like Quartz Hill, where those old white power structures want to continue to hold on to power, and that translates to law enforcement, because law enforcement itself, it began as a slave patrol. So this was like they would send people out to gather up the slaves, right? So that's the basis of what law enforcement is, and the sheriff's department itself is racist, and has a history of racist things, and even currently, there's a whole other subject we can talk about later, is they are the largest gang that there is.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They're a deputy gang. So when you as a citizen know, like, you can't really say what you want when police are violating your rights, you need an organization like us that can do that, that isn't afraid to call it out, to advocate, to go to the people and the agencies that are here to help. So that's the main thing, is that everybody here knows that the police aren't great, that do bad things, but what do you say about it? It's that, or there's a level of acceptance, like that's just how it is. So that's even sadder to me, is when people are like, that's just how it is. Like nothing you can do.
Nothing you can do. It's a lot of people like that. And me coming from where I'm from, you know what I mean, I feel like everybody's like that. And I grew up seeing police abuse on a regular, and I almost thought it was just something that happens, you know what I mean? I didn't really think nothing of it. And it's crazy to think that there's people that just turn a cheek to it, you know, because these are like in where I'm from, in Watts, I grew up in Watts, California, so we see cops patrolling all the time, you know, and they might get aggressive with someone who's from a gang or something like that or whatever, and necessarily you kind of train your mind to think that that's a normal thing or whatever, but it's not normal when a cop is slamming someone on their head or shooting them and they don't have no weapon in their hand, and they know they have the upper hand in the situation. So it gets a little tricky when people are going up against the cops, because we don't usually see stuff like that. So it's once I found out about cancel the contract, I knew it was something that was important, and I needed to be a part of that, you know, because it was something that I feel like where I grew up at, what I grew up seeing, nobody was ever trying to go against the law enforcement and stuff like that. And I feel like things are, it's heading to the right direction, you know what I mean, when it comes to us pushing towards law enforcement. I feel like you're beginning to hear more about deputy gangs and stuff like that, and it's beginning to get outed when a cop does something wrong, you know what I mean? So I feel like we're heading to the right direction. Still a lot of work needs to get done, you know what I mean, but we're definitely heading to the right direction for sure.
And it's true, but you can understand it's basically just survival. So like you knew on some level that that's not right, but it's called like self-preservation. So we had an instance of a father and his sons were held at gunpoint by the sheriff's department in Lancaster. Just very quickly, someone had called in a false report on them saying basically they had guns. So law enforcement shows up, probably 4 or 5 squad cars, and out on Sierra Highway, which is the main highway here, had this gentleman and his sons on the curb, but at gunpoint. That's horrible. And after the incident happened, they just let him go with no "I'm sorry" to them. And so we brought that up with the Lancaster captain, like, hey, this thing happened, and kind of like plain like, and with them, like, we understand why the police came that way, because someone lied. I said, but afterwards, when they realized, like, no, they didn't have a gun, there wasn't an apology of like, sorry, or someone called it in, we didn't know. And the captain didn't want to believe it at first. He had a hard time believing, like, basically paraphrasing what he said, he had a hard time believing that his deputies wouldn't have apologized, right? And we said, yeah, but no, they didn't. So he did go and he checked the body cam footage of his deputies and found out, like, no, they didn't apologize. He calls us and says, yeah, they didn't, but they thanked him. Like, the man thanked them. So their service must have been good. I said, but do you understand? He was trying to get out of there alive with a gun held at him, but also his child. So I said that was just like freaking trauma response. Like, thank you for not killing me, basically, right? So I understand why people don't want to say anything because you're just want to get out of it alive if it's you. But if you see it happening, like, hey, if you say something, you're going to get caught up in it too, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And so
That's
it's just very rare that someone feels comfortable being like, oh, okay, I'm going to say something and maybe get it on me.
Yeah.
But that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have that fear of getting caught up in it. Like, that's what we're here for.
Exactly. And it's not a lot of places that do that, or it's not a lot of people that know about places that do that. Yeah, I feel like I had to correct myself on that because I didn't even know you guys were here. You know what I mean? So it was to find out that you guys were here. It was like this is kind of cool to find out what you guys do and how you guys help the community on a day to day. But I have another question for you, Ms. Raquel. Does cancel the contract only address policing issues?
No. So, of course, there's police in community and there's police in school. So that is something that we look at as like there is not a need to have that deputy in the school.
Yeah.
There is campus security officers. So that is a problematic area. But no, when there are areas of discrimination that occur, we're going to speak up. So, for instance, we know in our school districts, you ask any parent of a brown and black child out here, they know that there are things that are happening in the school district that are racist towards their child. Whether it be on, race or disability. So we have students that are in the special education program that are facing discrimination by the school district. And that discrimination occurs in the form of like suspensions and expulsions. So like the discipline portion, right? So we know that if you are a black student or a student with a disability, that you are suspended and expelled more frequently than you would if you were white or without a disability, but for the same offense. And so what we ended up doing is cancel the contract. We are the community plaintiff. We sued the high school district for that discrimination, for their policies, school policies, which we alleged were breaking laws meant to prevent discrimination. So we sued them. The first portion of that lawsuit is done. So back in March, a judge agreed with us that, hey, high school district, this policy is illegal. So the high school district was required to redo their policy on suspensions and expulsions and transfers. So the first part of the lawsuit is done. And then we're going into the next phase where we are saying, talking about the civil rights violations, basically, that the policy may not be illegal, but how they're implementing is like where the discrimination is occurring, like how they're applying that policy. So no, we're here to tackle discrimination by police in the community, but also discrimination by the school districts. When your kid is supposed to be going there, that is a place for them to receive an education, to work towards their future. They shouldn't have to worry about things like that in school.
Exactly. And that's powerful. It's powerful that you guys made that move, because the school system is like, that's something that your kid essentially has to go to. You know what I mean? And that needs to be as corrected as possible, because us as parents, we want to make sure that our kids is safe. You know what I mean? When we're taking our kids to school, we already got to deal with these random school shootings and stuff like that, so you definitely don't want to have to be worrying about, oh, this cop might do this, or this law enforcement in school might do this to our kid and stuff like that. So I just feel like I'm happy that we're locking in on that and making sure that gets situated for the schools and stuff like that.
Yeah, we want it to be a welcoming place for every student and for them to reach their full potential, whatever that happens to be. But we just know that out here, the school districts it's not positive. So we have school staff that as at minimum has a racial bias, and then other times are outright racist. So you combine that then with law enforcement, which is in the schools, which we know has done bad things. Like, how is a child supposed to be comfortable if you're a black student or a student with disability? How is that a comfortable environment? Like, exactly like you said, the child has to be there. Right. And you as a parent rely that the school is going to be looking out for the basic welfare of your child. You assume they're doing like the minimum, right? Like a C. Give them a C, and they're not. But they're not. So someone has to take them to account for not doing the minimum.
No, that's so true. But the last question I would ask you to kind of wrap things up, what do we want cancel the contract to be known for?
So we want people to know, like, this is a place in community to come for resources. So whether it's resources when it comes to issues that have happened with the police, resources for things that are going on in the school, or wellness resources, right? So many times you're just having day-to-day trauma when you're dealing with basically a community that can be racist. I'm going to say it because we're on the podcast, right? So like just the day-to-day things that you encounter, whether it's from law enforcement or other members of community, we just know that community faces a lot of trauma. So it's, wellness resources, or just for anything that you may need help with, we want folks to understand that even if we don't know and don't provide that resource, we will find someone that is able to do that for you. So we want to be known really as a community hub where you can come and find assistance, but also we do other things like art programming for students, gardening programs. So also a place for people to come and find joy, pretty much. Nice. But just knowing that we're here to help in any way that we can, basically.
Yeah. Okay. That's beautiful. And honestly, before we wrap this whole thing up, I feel like you did an amazing job with this whole, like, I don't know how many podcasts you've been on.
Zero. This is my first.
Yeah, that's crazy. You did a brilliant job. And I feel like the mission for cancel the contract is just another level of it right here. So, any last things that you want to say for the camera before we head out?
Yes, know that we're here. Follow us on our socials, our Instagram, our Instagram, our TikTok, even Facebook. Yes,
Yep.
And then obviously, YouTube and.
TikTok,
our podcast, all that stuff. Just follow us to know what's going on, and to see how you can get involved and be on this journey with us. I say it all the time. Like, people kind of are scared, like, oh, I can't be with you, but you're safer with us. Because if anything happens to you, then you have this whole village of us behind you, as opposed to you trying to go it alone.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And I'm happy that you said that. And we gonna roll it out. I feel like we did a nice segment here. This was cool. I feel like we got a nice podcast going, and this is actually the intro episode here. So for the people that don't understand cancel the contract and trying to get a better understanding of it, I feel like we gave you a nice little breakdown. So, and you got to talk to Raquel about it. So yeah, love you guys. Plan to see y'all again for episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all those episodes. Right. And yeah,
awesome.
We're out.
Bye.
Love you.